Hello and welcome to another lesson from Soflex Math. Today we're going to talk about another multiplication method. This one's called the cluster method. Once again, to review our previous lessons, we've had the standard algorithm, or the normal way. We've had the lattice method with the boxes. We've had the area model with the rectangles. And now we have the cluster method. And after today's lesson, when you're working on the worksheets, feel free to use any of the methods. Feel free to review any of the videos as we go through these. And once again, if you can just pick out one that really works for you, that's just as good as knowing all four. So we're going to jump right in here with our first problem, which is 27 times 4. So 27 times 4. Right now what we've done is, in our normal algorithm, we'd go 4 times 7 and 4 times 2. Well, once again, we're using those powers of 10s from our first lesson. And all we're going to do is take our 4 and multiply it by the 7 from 27, and then multiply 4 times the 20, or the 2, which represents 20. So that just breaks it down into a little bit of mental math. So this one, our answers would be 28. And then the second part, 4 times 2 is 8, and a 0. And then we're just going to add those answers together. So we get an 8, we get a 10, and that gets us a final answer of 108. So it's really the same way as some of the other ways. It's kind of the same way as the area model. Instead of drawing rectangles, though, we're just representing it kind of in a row and keeping track of each one that we did. Okay, so let's take a look at another example where we have a different set of numbers. So with this example, we have 3 numbers across the top, 358, and then just a single digit at the bottom of 7. So I'm going to always start with my bottom number, just like we would with the standard algorithm. I'm going to write that 7 down 3 times. Why? Because I have 3 place values at the top that I would be multiplying by. So remember, the 3 is 300, the 5 is 50, and the 8 is 8. So if you remember that, you can see how to set up the problem. The 3 is 300, the 5 is 50, the 8 is 8. And now, once again, as long as we worry about just multiplying our first numbers and adding the zeros, it's mental math again. So 7 times 8 is 56. Okay, 7 times 5 is 35. Plus a 0. And then 7 times 3 is 21. And 2 zeros. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to add these 3 numbers together. And I didn't do a good job here, but make sure you line up each place values column so that you don't get confused. I kind of ran out of a little room here. But so we're going to add up column by column. So the ones, we're going to have a final answer of a 6. We're going to have a 5 plus a 5 for the 10s, which is 10, so 0. Carry my 1, and be careful here because I didn't line it up very well, but we have 1, 3, and 1, so 3, 4, and 5, and then I still have my 2 in the thousands. So really do a better job than I just did there, lining up your place values. But our final answer to this question will be 2,506. So following the same as question 1, we just added a number in the hundreds, 3 digits on top, but we kind of follow the same way. All right, our next examples, let's see what we do when we have 2 digits on the top and 2 digits on the bottom, and see how that kind of looks when we set up our problem. So for our third example, we have a double-digit number of 62 at the top, and then we have a double-digit number of 38 at the bottom. So I'm going to use my 8s here and my 3. And the 3, remember, is actually 30. So my 8, I'm going to write twice because I have 2 numbers at the top. My 30, I'm going to write twice because I have 2 numbers at the top. So our first problem is going to be 8 times 2. So I'm going to write that right here, 8 times 2. My next one is 8 times 60, not 6, but 60. And now my bottom ones are going to be double digit, not 30, but 30. That's why I put the 30 down. 30 times a 2 and 30 times a 60. So the benefit of this is kind of you don't have to worry about which order to go in. If you were doing the standard algorithm, you might get confused about which way to start, which way to go first, which diagonal. Here, as long as we pick all 4 of the place values, we can just do some mental math problems. So 8 times 2, we'll start writing our answers. I'll try to do a little better here. Spacing them out. 16. 8 times 6 is 48 plus a 0, so 480. And then we have 30 times 2, which is 60. And then finally we have 6 times 3, which is 18, plus 2 zeros. So that one's going to end up being 1,800 or 1,800. All right, and then we want to add all those up again. So our ones column, we're going to end up with a 6. Tens, we have 1, 8, and 6 for a total of 15. Carry our 1 again. This time we're going to have a 4, a 1, and an 8 for 13. Carry our 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. So our answer here to this problem, 62 times 38, is 2,356. So take a minute to see if you see where the 4 multiplication problems came from. So where I came up with my 8 times, where I came up with my 30 times. So kind of see where those all came from. And we'll do one more example just to kind of make sure you see where they're coming from. We'll do a 3-digit by 2, which will be the most difficult that you'll have to do. So take a second to look at this, and then we'll go on to our last problem. Okay, for this last one, you can see here that I've already set up all the parts of the problem for you. So we have 217 times 43. So kind of think about a few questions here. So question 1, can you write 217 in expanded form? Can you think of it as 200 plus 10 plus 7? And then the 43, can you think of that in expanded form? 40 plus 3. Okay, so if you can, that's where we're going to come up with our mini problems. So we're going to start out with that 3. So I'm going to kind of underline that as a starting point. So 3 times 7 we've done. 3 times 10 we've done. And then 3 times 200 we've done. 7, 10, 200. Then we're going to scoot over here for the bottom section. The 4 is actually a 40. So notice how this 4 is written as 40, 40, 40. So we're going to do 40 times 7. 40 times 10. 40 times 200. 40 times 7. 40 times 10. And 40 times, sorry, this one should have been 200. Let me fix that real quick. Okay, fix that up there. So now you can see it's 40 times 200. All right, so now we're just going to go through and add, well, first we're going to multiply them, but once we get those 6 answers to those 6 mental math multiplication problems, we're going to add all 6 together and see what kind of answer we come up with. All right, and we're going to kind of take a step back here from a previous lesson. And we're going to try to estimate what our answer should be. So we're thinking of 217, what could I round that to? And then 43, what could I round that to? So think for a moment. Okay, so my estimate there was 200. So the 217 to turn that into 200, 43 to turn that into 40. Multiply those together and you get an estimate of around 8,000. So as we work through our problem, let's see if we get close to 8,000. Okay, so we're going to write these numbers over here, our answers. So I'm going to write these kind of quick and then we'll line them up later. So 21, a 30, a 600. Okay, and then 7 times 4 plus a 0 would be 280. 40 times 10 is going to be 400. And then finally, we're going to have 2 times 4, which is 8, plus 1, 2, 3 zeros. All right, so we're looking at, even this one is close to our estimate, and then we're going to have some more. So it's going to be a little bit above, and that makes sense, because 17 more than 200 and 3 more than 40. So our answer is definitely going to be bigger than 800. So I think we're right on track with the way we've set up this problem and the way we've solved the multiplication part. All right. Kind of like before, let's see if we can just maybe mentally combine a couple of things before we add. So I know that 4 and 6 are compatible numbers. So 400 and 600 I'm going to cross those two out, and I know that's 1,000, and I know 1,000 plus 8,000 is 9,000. So I'm going to kind of mentally put all those together. So now I've done those. Okay, 280, okay, plus a 21, I know that's going to be 301. So let's get that out of here. 301 plus another 30 will be 331. So even though we had all 6 numbers there, combining, finding compatible numbers makes this a little bit easier to add. So now we're going to put our 331 together. So 9,331 ends up being our final answer to this 3-digit by 2-digit. So once again, as you're working through the practice problems, pick any method, the standard, lattice, area, or this cluster model, whichever one you think works best for you. If you do a couple and get a couple wrong, well, go back and try again and try a different method. Maybe the different method will be helpful to you. Leave questions in the comments, and we'll be back for our next lesson where we put this all together with some word problems. So how to solve multiplication word problems, how to figure out what a multiplication word problem looks like. So once again, thank you for watching Soflex Math.